Hello guys, welcome to the SISAKEST channel. So we are going to be starting our tutorial series, and this tutorial series is for the online free training that is being conducted during this COVID-19 lockdown for students of Solidworks. So today we are going to be talking about sketches. So now let's go over to our screen. There are a lot of work we are going to be doing. So this is the Solidworks environment. The Solidworks environment. So let's start. So today we are going to be talking about 2D sketches, because we have different types of sketches. We have the 3D and the 2D sketches. So we are going to be focusing first of all on the 2D sketch. We are going to be defining a sketch. We are going to be dimensioning, and also going to be giving relations, and we're also going to be working with some 2D tools like line, points, construction line tools, circle, rectangle, polygon tools, arc, slots, spline tools, and chamfer and fillet tools. So these are the tools we are going to be working on today. So let's go to the next one. So what is a 2D sketch? A 2D sketch is a 2D sketch is a 2D profile or cross section. So for us to create a 2D sketch, you have to make use of a plane or a face. In addition to 2D sketches, you can also create 3D sketch, which also will include what? The Z axis, as well as the X and what? Y axis. Now, the sketch is the basis for most 3D models. Now, every 3D model, every 3D part that I want to create actually starts from what? A sketch. Because it is from the sketch that you build the thickness for you to form what? The 3D part. So usually, everything actually boils down to what? The sketch. So it means that sketch is actually very, very important in SolidWorks. So that is why we are starting from these what? Fundamentals. So now let's go back to the next slide. Now, defining a sketch. Now, when we say define a sketch, in SolidWorks, there are 3 types of sketch. There are 3 types of sketch. We have the fully defined sketch, we have the under-defined sketch, and we have what? The over-defined sketch. Now, what is a fully defined sketch? A fully defined sketch is a sketch that all the lines, all the curves, everything in that sketch is what? Defined. We are aware of what? The position of everything in the sketch. We can describe everything with the dimension and the relations. Everything is given. So one thing you use to know a fully defined sketch is that a fully defined sketch is actually what? Black in color. Now let me show you an example. Let's go to the SolidWorks screen. Now let's draw a line. Now for you to start a sketch, this is sketch. For you to start a sketch, the first question SolidWorks is going to ask is, which plane do you want to sketch? Because in SolidWorks, you either sketch on a plane or you sketch on a face. So let's say we are sketching on the front plane. Now, let's draw a rectangle. Now, this is the rectangle. Now, after drawing the rectangle, we see we are done with that. Now, look at what happens. Now, what happens is that you notice that this rectangle now is not defined, because by clicking on any point of the rectangle, I can change the dimension of this rectangle. So you cannot actually work with this kind of rectangle, because any little change can change the whole perspective of the work. So this kind of rectangle is not what? Fully defined. You can see the colors of the lines of the rectangle. The colors are what? In blue. Now look at this status part of what? The SolidWorks. You see that it's telling you that it is actually what? Undefined. So this sketch is what? Undefined, because it is not yet fully what? Dimensioned. So what do we need to do? Let us dimension it. So let's dimension it. Let's say the length of this guy, let's say is 50, and let's say the breadth is 35. Let's say 35. Now you notice something now, that after I do this, you notice that the rectangle now, I can no longer increase the size because I have been able to what, define that size. But you notice something else, that out of everything, it is only this diagonal that is what, in black, meaning that this is the diagonal that is what, fully defined. Now what do I need to do? The reason why it is not fully defined at this case is because in SolidWorks, the SolidWorks environment only understands a point, and that point is actually the what, the center, the origin. So by the time I'm trying to define anything on the SolidWorks environment, the first thing I have to do is that I have to give it a relation towards the center, because that center is what the software understands. That is the point it understands. So I have to either fix what I want to sketch on the center, or I'll give it a relation to the center, give it what, the x and the y component in relation to what, the center. So now let me fix this guy to the center. Click at this point, click at this point, midpoint. Now by the time I do that, you see, you notice what happened. What happened now is that this sketch, this rectangle, is now fully defined, and all the colors have become black, have turned to black, meaning that this sketch now is fully defined. At this point in time, I cannot be able to drag this the way I used to drag it before, because it is now what, static. So at this point, I can still decide to what, change the dimension by just clicking at this point. Once I click, double click at that point, then to ask me what do I want it to be. I can ask, okay, let me say I want this guy to be 45, for example. It automatically updates itself. So also looking at the status bar here, you see that this sketch is now what, fully defined. Now the third type of sketch is what, the overdefined sketch. Now for overdefined sketch, what happens in overdefined sketch is that we are giving the sketch, we are giving more relations than required. A rectangle now just requires 2 dimensions, which is the length and the breadth. And in SolidWorks, we just need to know the position of what in relation to what, the origin. Now just imagine now that after giving length and breadth, we are now giving it another dimension. Now look at this. Now let's decide I want to dimension the diagonal. Now you see what will happen. Now notice what happened by the time we have this. You see that that line becomes what, yellow, and this is now what, overdefined, meaning that we are trying to give more definition to the sketch. Now look at what SolidWorks wrote here, overdefined sketches, and it now begins to pop out what, an error signal that, my guy, this thing is what, is not what it's supposed to be. So those are the 3 types of sketch. So underdefined sketch, meaning that we have not given enough parameter to the sketch. Fully defined sketch, meaning that the sketch is okay. Overdefined sketch, we are giving more parameter than required. Underdefined sketch are in blue colors, fully defined sketch in black colors, and overdefined sketches are in what, yellow colors. Now let's go back to our slide. Now back to the slide. So these are the things I've explained. Now let's go to the next subtopic. The next subtopic is what, dimensioning. Dimensioning is very, very what, important, because as engineers, by the time you tell somebody, okay, oh, my table is very long, the next question they want to ask you is, okay, your table is very long, how long is it? And when you say, okay, it's 50, you don't just say 50, you need to put what, units. So dimensioning is actually the process of adding dimensional values to geometric properties of the sketch. Now in this software, this SolidWorks, we have two types of what? Dimension. We have the driving dimension and we have what? The driven dimension. The driving dimension are those dimensions that actually controls. The driving dimension are the basic dimension. Every other thing of the sketch is dependent on what? The driving dimension. It drives the whole sketch. Are you getting me? It drives what? The whole sketch. You can edit what? A driving dimension. Now look at the driven dimension also. Now the driven dimension are what? Derived dimension. They depend on what? The direct dimension. I'll give us an illustration so that you understand the basic look of both of them, where both of them come to play. Let me delete this guy, select this guy. Now let's do some line constructions. Sorry, I'm just trying to get a kind of step pattern. I'm done with this guy. Click on this guy, let it be horizontal. Horizontal. This guy is also horizontal. Horizontal. Now look at this guy. I started from the center. Now look at this very well. If I want to dimension this guy, I start from here. I say from here to here. Let's say from here to here is 100. millimeters. Now I come to this other place and say here to here, let's say 80 millimeters. Now if I say from here to here is 40 millimeters. Now, and I said that from here to here is, let's say, 25 millimeters. Now this sketch is what? Fully defined now. Now for those of us in the part of the country where I come from, where some of our lecturers can be sometimes annoying, sorry for that. Now by the time you present this diagram to some people, the next question, sometimes they just start arguing some things. Say, this place is dimension. What is the dimension of this line? And this is what? Actually what? Common sense. If from here to here is 25, from here to here ought to be what? 75. Since from here to here is what? 100. Now, for that kind of case, we may decide to add some other dimensions that may not be actually needed. Now, look at it. Let me dimension this place. Now look at it, it's 75. Now we now go to this place, say make this driven dimension. Now what this helps us to solve is that these have helped us to get those dimensions that we actually okay. Now skip. Now let me dimension this guy. Now this place is 40 because 40 plus 40 is what? 80. Okay. Now look at what happens. If you can guess right, you notice that these first dimensions were in black colors. 80 is black in color, 100 is black, 40 is black, 25 is black. These guys are what? Deriving dimension, the basic dimensions. While these other ones, you see that they have a kind of gray color. These guys are what? Driven dimensions. Now, how do you distinguish both of them? The driving dimensions are what? The basic. The driving are the basic, while the driven depends on the driver. Now what happens is that I can edit my driving dimensions. Now let me click on this 25, see what happens. Double click, tell it that okay, I'm not satisfied with 25, make it what? 50, for example. 50. Now look, the driven dimension automatically what adjusts itself because it depends on what the driver. Now we can edit the what driving the driver dimension, but we cannot edit the driven dimension. Let me click here. You see the question, dimension selected. The dimension selected is what? A driven dimension. Its value cannot be what? Changed. So the only way to change a driven dimension is to what? Change what? The driver dimension. I hope you get it. So by the time you ask yourself what is the difference between both of them, the driver dimension is in black, the driven dimension is gray in color. The driving dimension is the basic dimension, while the driven dimension is the derived dimension. It depends on what? The driving dimension. The driving dimension can be edited. You can change the value, but the driven dimension cannot be edited. So it depends, for it to change, you have to alter the dimensions of what? The driven dimension. Thank you very much. At this point, if there's any question, you send it out. Now let's do some other things. That I would like to teach you guys in this video. Now, how do we select in SolidWorks? How do we make selections? There are 3 methods of making selections in SolidWorks. One of the first method is just by clicking. Now once I click now, it selected that one, and if I want to click more, just hold down your shift key and select. You see that it will continue making selections. So this is what one method, by holding down your shift key and using your mouse to click what you want to select. That is one method of what selecting. Now there is another method of selecting in SolidWorks. Now look at this. Press down your left button and go drag left. Now you notice what happens. You see a blue selected contour, a blue rectangle, depending on the SolidWorks you are using. You see that you have a blue selection. Now go there. Notice what happened. Do you notice something? Let me explain better. Now I drag that selection, the blue selection. Now this blue selection pattern only selects those things that this box covers completely. It only selects those things that the box covers completely. Now you notice that this selection, now look at what happened. By the time I release this mouse, it will only select 3 lines. Look at it. It will select this line, and this line, because those are the only 3 lines that selection completely covers. Now that is what the blue selection. Blue selection is you hold down your mouse and you drag right. Now we have the other one, which is what? The green selection. Now green selection, what green selection does is that you hold down your mouse, your left button of your mouse, and drag left. This is green selection. Now green selection selects anything that it comes in contact with. Once it touches a line, even without covering the whole line, it will select it automatically. Now look, now we are only touching 2 lines. We didn't cover the 2 lines, but by the time I release my mouse, it will select the 2 of them. So green selection selects anything it touches, while blue selection selects those things that it covers. I hope we get it. So those are the 2 types of what selection we have on SolidWorks. Thank you very much. Follow on to the next video. Thank you.